You're watching Plant Identification Through Personal Investigation with Angeline Whitmire. This plant portrait is for common mullein, Verbascum thapsus. Common mullein is a plant with a 2-year life cycle. We'll watch this plant starting in the fall season, near the end of its first year of growth. During winter, the plant's leaves turn color, and some of the leaves die back. By early spring, the previous year's leaves may have died. However, new, large, fuzzy leaves are growing strong. 2 weeks later, in mid-spring, notice the thick veins growing on the lighter-toned underside of the leaves. A month later, late spring, and this common mullein plant has a full set of healthy leaves. You can see how the leaves develop from the center of the rosette. About 3 weeks later, it is early summer. The plant's leaves start to grow upwards along a stalk, and the flower spike begins to develop in the center of the plant. The flower spike 3 days later. Notice how the upper leaves are narrower and shorter than the previous leaves we've seen. 2 days later, the overall plant height has increased dramatically. You can clearly see the variation in leaf shape from the original rosette of leaves to the upper stalked leaves of this common mullein. 3 days later, the first flower opens on the flower spike. This is a total of 8 days after first noticing this spike beginning to grow. Here's the entire plant 2 days later. Look at the leaf variation with the heavily veined and ruffled undersides of the upper leaves. The flower spike has a few more blossoms. They seem to be opening in a spiral around the spike rather than blooming from the bottom upwards or from the top downwards. Close examination of the common mullein flower shows its fuzzy, hairy look, similar to the fuzzy-looking leaves. We can also see the stamens with orange pollen and the green-tipped pistil. 2 days later, more flowers are blooming. The petals from the first blossoms are dropping onto the leaves. A week later, new flower spikes begin growing around the central spike. This image shows at least 3 additional flower spikes in development. A month later, midsummer, and the central flower spike is turning from green to brown as its seeds are maturing in their capsules. We can see the dark, shriveled threads of the flower pistils extending beyond each seed capsule. A couple weeks later, the lowest leaves are dying back. Here's the common mullein plant in late summer. Dead leaves at the bottom, a dark central flower spike, and it continues to bloom. Here's a closer view of a dying lower leaf. The central flower spike still has fresh flowers among the older maturing seed capsules. It now looks like a random popcorn bloom pattern. The smaller and newer flower spikes continue to bloom. We're now in the fall season again, 1 year after we first began our journey with this common mullein. The plant looks quite dead from bottom to top. A month later, we can see the seed capsules have begun to dry out and drop their seeds. In the middle of winter, the dried plant with its flower spikes remains standing. As the wind blows during the winter months, more tiny common mullein seeds are released and spread over the surrounding landscape. This is Angeline. Thank you for watching and learning about Verbascum thapsus, also known as common mullein. Visit identifythatplant.com for more images of common mullein, for plant identification resources, and for information about how you can confidently master the skill of correct plant identification.